they immediately go in and they try to shut that down. So we're jumping into draft. A couple of changes already coming through. Edward Gaming showing respect towards Evie's comfort.
Making sure they ban away that Camille. They're saying, all right, we know you want to play around this guy. We know Steel was focusing the top lane last time around. Let's make sure that he doesn't get this pick here again if he wants it so badly. They'll ban that one away along with the Tahm Kench, while Detonation Focus Me will ban out the Rakan to start things off.
And we finally see the Kai'Sa ban. I love this. We get iBoy taking off one of his most comfortable champions. He's definitely very capable on many other champions, and they are a little bit more lane dominant, things like the Varus, but it does mean that his 27, 28, 29 game Kai'Sa has been taken off the board.
That's what I wanted to mention, because a lot of times you talk about a most played champion, a second most played champion. It's like, oh, he's got 10 games on this one, 8 games on this one. No. Throughout the regular summer split in the LPL, iBoy played Kai'Sa 27 times, with the next most popular champion being a tie between Varus and Lucian at 8 each. Those two put together is slightly over half of his Kai'Sa plays. He loves Kai'Sa, but will not get it this time around. The Tahm Kench also banned out, means that the most popular support for both players is off the table, while Ryze and Aatrox are going to be the last couple champions banned away as EDG say, all right, time to lock in the first pick Aatrox.
Urgot has
Or not Aatrox, Urgot, that's the one.
They're both very popular, Captain Flaz. It's an easy mistake to make. And Urgot, I'm curious as to why Detonation Focus Me have chosen to leave this champion open. Evie, I hope, has some kind of a counter pick, because if he doesn't, then EDG are already building an advantage towards the top side of the map. I'd quite like to see something like a Varus locked in right now for Yutapon. I think it's something that he is pretty comfortable on. It's strong in the bot lane. It's going to guarantee you a very solid 2 versus 2, and it's also something that Edward Gaming are not afraid to blind pick. So I feel like that they should lock that in now, especially seeing as they have so much time to get that counter pick top.
Well, they do decide to go for the Gnar pick top lane into that Urgot. They're saying, all right, you want a ranged laner that's pretty strong into almost everything? We're going to hit you with a ranged laner that is historically strong in a lot of matchups. This is also the most played champion for Evie throughout the regular summer split, edging out the Camille by just a single game, as Clear Love will be locked into that Gragas here for the second game in a row.
Remember, it can be flexed to bot lane as well.
That is
we
true.
did see
that
it
is
come out from Gambit earlier on. And also remember that Urgot can be played in the mid lane. Never forget that fact. His flexibility means that Ray could look to pick up any kind of counter pick up towards the top side of the map, as Ed would continue to just flick through all the different champions. And we're going to see an Akali. And I'm curious as to where that's going to go. It looks like that Ray hasn't played it so far during the regular season, but neither has Scout, in fact. So it could literally go anywhere.
We have no idea where the pick will go. We'll, of course, get to find out, but I have a pretty strong inkling, Vedius, of where the Heimerdinger's going.
Yeah.
Detonation supports me. They're saying, all right, you shut it down last game. That's fine. We still have a hell of an impressive record on this champion. That last game was a fluke. We know what to do this time. They're confident in locking that one in again as we approach the second part of the bans, and it looks like Detonation Focus Me are hitting the AD carry pool a little bit harder, taking Xayah off the board.
So this to me really heavily implies that Varus is going to be the first pick for Detonation Focus Me. They can ban away the Xayah, they can ban away the Ashe, and they can just get themselves the Varus, strong 2v2, especially paired up with the Alistar. Alternatively, they could look to ban the Braum right now, one of the common answers to things like Alistar down in the bottom lane that can give you some decent trading power and teamfight utility later on into the game.
Well, Edward Gaming decided they wanted to ban away a ranged auto attacker, but a slightly different flavor in the Kindred, making sure that that's not available in the jungle position for Steel. While the ban for Detonation Focus Me will be Lucian. Remember, I said that was the other champion tied for second most plays in iBoy's pool through the regular LPL summer split. They don't want him on that one, as Varus will actually be banned away by EDG, making sure that that doesn't fall into the hands of Yutapon.
Well, this is what we were expecting. And now we see the hover of Steel's most played jungler. It's going to be locked in. And Detonation Focus Me want to get the counter pick in the bot lane. It doesn't surprise me because we saw what happened last time when they went up against 2v2, iBoy and Mako, they dumpstered that lane. So they want to see what AD carry they're going up against, and they want to pick the best matchup possible. But iBoy, he has plenty of options. You saw him cycling through all of them, and by locking in the Tristana, definitely a safe lane. And you kind of look at what other options are available in the AD carry position. Ashe is one option. You could go for Ezreal as well. It doesn't really generate a huge amount of priority, but it is something that Udapon has played a lot of. Or he goes to something like a Mage or a Bruiser down towards the bot side of the map.
Or we could just see that Gragas swap to the bottom side, as it looks like that's what it will be. As, oh baby, they knew I was on the series and they had to do me a favor. Skarner's locked in for Edward Gaming. Clear love to be on that one this game. And the Tristana lock-in especially, I love this, Vegas, because they're picking the same pick their opponents played last time. I call this the let me teach you something lane. You just beat it, now you're going to show them how to play it.
Ooh, and they're going to lock in the Ezreal as well. So we talked about this as a potential. I don't think this is the most lane-dominant champion against a Tristana, but from having spoken to a couple of AD carries, it depends on how confident you are in the matchup. If you're good at landing your skill shots, you can definitely force Tristana out of lane. You really do outrange her in the very early levels, and when you're paired up with an Alistar, you do have a couple of all-in opportunities, but of course, Gragas interrupt the escapes from Tristana too, so it's not the worst matchup in the world for the Ezreal, but on the bright side, you would hope that Tristana shouldn't have the same kill potential that Nautilus and Kai'Sa does, so you can get through the laning phase this time around.
And that's the name of the game for Detonation Focus Me, in my eyes at least. Get through the laning phase. EDG's early game is just this completely explosive experience that, yes, it's hard to weather that storm, but you almost have to, because if you give them that early lead, we saw what they did with it. It's a 27-minute game. There's never really the opportunity to come back, and Detonation Focus Me did not seem well equipped for that.
It's very, very true. So the drafts have been locked in. Again, more comfort on the side of Detonation Focus Me. Nah, most played top laner for Evi during the regular season. Nocturne, most played jungler. Heimerdinger tied for the most played mid laner. Ezreal, most played support. The only exception to the rule is the Alistar on Vivid. So
it is tied for third. Tied for third.
So a lot of comfort across the board. And they've taken arguably EDG off of a lot of their comfort, but then at the same time, you kind of compare the experience of this team, and they're kind of scary on any of the champions that they get their hands on.
Oh, absolutely. And even if they're not playing on comfort, they're on some champions that are very scary if they get ahead, as this team is likely to do. Urgot gets ahead. All of a sudden, you constantly got to worry about those executes coming out in every single fight. Skarner gets ahead. You're still in a situation where if anybody goes too far forward, you're in danger of that suppression, not to mention you're now having to pay the Skarner tax. Remember what QSS does to inventories. It slows you down, or it puts you in a situation where you're at the mercy of the pull.
You know, Flowers, this may be the one and only time where we have your main versus mine.
Oh,
Nocturne
yeah.
versus Skarner. Now,
it's kind of like a showdown.
It's not mid lane, admittedly, right?
I don't play Skarner mid lane.
No, I mean, the Nocturne is in mid lane.
Okay,
That's
okay. I thought you meant the showdown has to be mid lane. I was like, there is not a Spire mid lane. It does not work.
But it's quite an interesting matchup, because for the Nocturne, I feel that, as you rightly said, if you're on a Spire, it's not that great for the Nocturne. But because of how slow the E is, you can often spell shield the stun. And because you run Lethal Tempo, you should actually out-trade the Skarner, I feel, for a large portion of the
heavily
game.
out-trade him. You can actually out-trade him in the Spire early on, too.
Ooh.
Nocturne is one of the very few champions that can do that. Nocturne, Udyr, and Olaf can out-trade you in the Spire early on.
Because the fear is really impactful in terms of 1v1 duels.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking at across the board at some of these 2v2s that could potentially happen. Like top lane and mid lane is where I expect kind of more jungle attention than anywhere else on the map. And if we see the Nocturne counter-ganking up towards the top side, we actually see Ray being the one to start off in the jungle.
Ray just trying to annoy these guys, keep him away here, throw down a little bit of harass as he walks his way back out. Oh, the other champion, for those of you at home who are curious, that beats Skarner in his Spires early on is Graves, but Graves is broken and beats everything right now, so don't worry about that one. Just don't fight Graves, ban him instead. As Steel will get his red buff early on here on the Nocturne. You can see Clear Love starting up on his bottom side of the map as well, going for that Krug clear. As Ray versus Evi, the Urgot versus the Gnar. Urgot has been such a strong pick in the top lane recently, Vedius, but Evi, the comfort pick that you already mentioned on this Gnar, a champion that can traditionally deal with pretty much anything top lane throws his way. I see this one getting bloody.
So the thing is, from what I've heard from a lot of top laners, is that Urgot does just fine into Gnar, largely because he has slightly stronger wave clear, but also the shield on his W means that every time Evi tries to trade into him, he actually just has that extra health, quote-unquote, advantage. That means he can just slightly come out on top if Evi doesn't respect it enough. And you can already see Ray has been able to get the early push, and he's kind of bullying Evi out a little bit, but once some of the items start coming through, things like the Black Cleaver and your sticking power that you have on the mini Gnar, that's where I can really see Gnar starting to win out on these duels, especially in the side lane later on.
Clear Love moving up, grabbing a Scuttle Crab here for himself. With the Spire under his control, he feels pretty comfortable around here. It is very difficult to run him down, even if you try to collapse on him, just because of the amount of speed that he gets in that zone. As we'll see the lane in mid being completely controlled right now by Seros with this Heimerdinger. Very similar to what we saw last time around, right? With the Irelia into the Heimerdinger early on. It's hard to do anything about that, but we'll see Mako and iBoy thinking about making a collapse from bottom lane here into mid, but instead just backing off, going for the Scuttle Crab. They're saying, hey, our jungler got the top side crab, their jungler will go for the bottom side, but we can just take this ourselves.
Interesting adaptation there from the bot lane of EDG. One of the few that I notice whenever they get the early push, almost always move out of the lane. They'll either get vision in the enemy jungle together, they might look for a roam mid. It's something where I don't see many bot lanes do, but they're like, okay, we have a small advantage. Let's use this window to generate some kind of pressure somewhere on the map. And this time it nets them a Scuttle Crab. It also allowed iBoy to hit that level 3 mark. And for the time being, they still have that push in the laning phase. And you know, we talked about how in the draft we saw a lot of AD carry bans. Detonation Focus me kind of eyeing up that Varus, maybe wanting to lock it in. But now they're kind of in this situation where maybe they want a little bit more lane power, yet they're still being forced back by the Tristana and the Gragas.
iBoy doing a good job there, utilizing the animation buffering to get out of the headbutt pulverize coming in from Vivid, making sure he stays out of trouble on that Tristana. Of course, Vivid and Steel are going to be the two guys that he has to keep track of the most in these fights, because those are the two that'll look to dive in on him here, as Udapon finds a little bit of damage there in the bottom lane, but not a whole lot just yet. Is staying pretty caught up in terms of farm. Has a couple extra minions here to farm up and keep that one almost completely even, as the top lane, the jungle, also very even in farm. The biggest difference so far is this mid lane that Seros has an advantage in. Clearlove moves up to clear away some of those turrets, but remember, running through the turret line is Skarner. The move speed on the W persists as long as you have the armor, the crystal armor in that shield. When the shield breaks, you're a big slow Scorpion again. You're not going to run at anybody very fast. And if you can't run at people on Skarner, spoiler alert, you don't do anything.
And I think he was mainly there just to help a bit of the wave clear, so that Scout could either look for a base or just relieve some of the pressure, maybe kill some of the turrets. And the big thing about this mid lane matchup, the difference between Akali and Irelia is really good at clearing away these turrets. Akali, not so much. The Q doesn't quite have enough damage until you max it to be able to really threaten the wave clear on those turrets, which means that for the most part of the laning phase, she's just going to be in this situation, soaking up a lot of the harassment, just dealing with the punishment. And while she can use her stealth, or the shroud rather, to get up close, get a bit of a heal with the Q, she's still in this situation where she just has to bear the brunt of it for now, and hopefully at level 6 she'll have a bit of kill pressure with Clearlove, where they can look to shut down the Skarner.
Especially if Clearlove does come in with the ultimate of his own. So if he decides to use the Predator here, they do go in for it, looking to make this one happen. Shroud goes down, damage comes through, and there's your first blood for EDG.
And there's that level 6 we were just talking about, Captain Flowers. A great flash ult coming out from Scout to get that very small stun was enough to apply the rest of his abilities to allow the follow-up coming in from Clearlove and secure themselves that early kill.
Very well done from EDG. Let's take another look here as Clearlove comes in from the side.
So I thought Saros would look to back up here, but he still feels confident. He's still going for the push, and then here, flash into stun. He doesn't actually land the E, it's just he's done so much damage that Saros realizes, okay, I can't flash away. Scout has 2 procs of this. The Skarner also has the flash as well. I'm not going to be able to get away, so I'm just going to have to give away my life. And the fact that the Akali is able to find a very early kill means that that kill pressure is just going to keep building and building. And once the Gunblade comes through, he may be able to start solo killing that Heimerdinger.
Especially with the ability to dive underneath turrets with the champion, because of the fact that the stealth is technically obscurity, which does avoid aggro from turrets as well. It means that Seros is going to have to be that much more respectful of just how much damage Scout can put out on this champion. As Clearlove walks forward to throw down a control ward into the river, it will be immediately cleared away by Vivid, but Scout's clearing out some vision of his own as he moves into the top side here, waiting for Seros to push this one back out. And honestly, even though first blood plus assist money went over to EDG, the gold is still pretty much even, just because of the passive advantage Seros has been farming up through having the CS advantage there in the mid lane. You can see a couple hundred advantage for Scout, but bottom side, having Kleptomancy on your AD carry naturally gives them more money as well. So even though the farm's even down there, Udapon's edging out a slight lead compared to what iBoy is doing. And fortunately for Detonation Focus Me, that bot lane is not hemorrhaging this time. They're keeping themselves aligned. alive. It is a much safer lane. Ezreal's one of those really slippery AD carries, and that's what I said I wanted to see from Detonation Focus Me. Get out of the early game without having too much of a massive deficit, so then you can try to play more from even ground once mid-game rolls around.
I mean, let's think about it. 6 minutes into the last game, I'm pretty sure we were at like 3-0 to kills in favor of EDG.
Yeah, it was,
and then like
it was really rowdy.
8 minutes in, it was like 5-1. So definitely a better game for Detonation Focus Me. And if they can just slow things down, they have a really solid mid-game spike, you know. 2 items on the Heimerdinger is really devastating in team fights. 2 items on the Ezreal as well can be very solid. So I see them having a big mid-game window that they can look to utilize, but Steel is the big guy in this early game that I want to see being proactive. He has the ulti. He should see the Scar. Oh, actually, he wants the
Skarner, beep, beep, here we go. Still looking to make it into a 2v2, though. Detonation Focus Me committing really hard. Turning things around. It's 1-for-1. Now, Steel versus Scout. Who's going to win out in that fight? Scout's running back towards enemy territory. Steel chases him a little bit. Doesn't want to go all the way. Nice counterattack there from Detonation to make it even.
And it was good that Steel was in the area to use his ultimate to get that counter gank off. You saw the amount of damage that the Heimerdinger was able to get off once he was able to lay down that big turret from his ultimate. And in this kind of a situation, they have vision on Steel. They know he's going towards the blue buff. They think, okay, he's not going to be in range to get the counter gank, and they don't have vision on the Skarner. So he pops the Predator, he uses the flash ulti, but he turns around. He's able to react in time, but oh, such fancy footwork coming out from Scout there. He uses the E to close the gap, to then use the ult to then get the damage off. He layers down the Shroud, and then that's more than enough to close the distance between him and Seraph to secure himself a kill.
Both those kills end up going on to the divers for their respective teams. The Nocturne getting extra money, the Akali doing the same. So the kill pressure from these 2 big threats will continue to climb as we move further and further here into the game. Bottom side, it's EDG again, just in control, but Vivid's looking to change that right now. iBoy going really far in. Gets the kill. Can he get the reset and get out? I don't think so. Steel's grabbing himself the counter kill.
And we thought that with the draft changes coming in from Detonation Focus Me, EDG would not have a bot lane that would find kills. Yet once again, Mako and iBoy find the 2 versus 2, but it ends up in a 1-for-1 thanks to the arrival of Steel.
Steel is being in the right place at the right time so far, which is the name of the game for this dude. That's where he has to be to get this team into the mid-game. And Detonation Focus Me, although in play-in groups, they went a total of 1-3 before winning the tiebreaker against Kaboom for a final record of 2-3. They still had some strong moments. Remember, they took Cloud9 the distance in that one game. That could have very easily been a win for them if a couple things went differently. This is a team that can find wins against these larger region squads, and it looks like this time around, they seem to have found a strategy that works a little bit better for them as Evie goes in, finds the wall up through the flash anyway. Ray's gonna be eating yet another rock. Evie still has flash available. A little bit more damage might do it. Here in the mid lane, Sarah is gonna be taken very low, still gonna be kept alive until the Ignite takes him down. Killing spree over to Scout. Steel still walking himself away, but Vivid will be the sacrificial Alistar as the damage comes in and the double kill arrives for Scout.
So while a fight kicks off top side, all the action is really happening in the mid lane. Evie isn't able to find a kill onto Ray, but EDG find 2 quick kills in the mid. They'll turn this into a dragon as well, and now things are starting to spin in the favor of EDG once more.
Ocean Drake over to EDG feels good for these guys. Extra regeneration as the laning phase continues to last. Sometimes you see those shut down early, but not today here as the Acer Predator replay comes up to break down the fight.
Remember that Saros, he doesn't have his flash available, but he feels safe because of Steel and Vivid. But the power of that Shroud allows Scout to just dive onto Saros, and he can't heal for himself. He doesn't have the Zhonyas. The barrier isn't enough to keep him alive, and this is what a fed Akali looks like against a squishy mage. 4-0-0 is the scoreline for Scout now, and while he didn't have the most impressive performance in Game 1, he is compensating for that here in Game 2.
Scout with 4-0 on a champion that honestly has so much say in how the fights go from this moment on. The amount of tools in your kit to reposition yourself, find the damage, duck out of the aggro, and then come right back into the fight. If he plays these upcoming skirmishes and fights correctly as the mid-game goes on, he should be able to run away with things with these squishy targets to kill in terms of the Heimerdinger, the Ezreal, even the Nocturne. There's a lot of opportunity here for Scout to really shine this game as Steel will pick up another red buff, and that ultimate is almost off cooldown for him to try to make another play.
And you can see now that Scout has hit level 9 how much more wave clear. Once you max the Q ability, you get bonus damage to minions, and every time a turret gets placed down, it gets wiped out almost immediately, and having that extra bit of wave clear means that Scout has so much more priority in this lane, and look at how far back Seras has to play. He knows how strong this Akali is. His flash still isn't available, and DFM already losing so much control of the map, only 13 minutes in.
Hell, it's pretty brave to get that far away from the turret when you're up against a team like this with a lead like this, as Clearlove sees the opportunity to grab the Rift Herald here for himself on the Skarner. Does have the Ninja Tabbies and the Cinderhulk complete. You can see his counterpart has decided to go for the completed Warrior, not completing the boots yet, instead just going for the Serrated Dirk. Wants the lethality, wants the one-shot potential when he dives in. I mean, that's what you've got to do with Nocturne. When you go in, you're probably going to die. The guy that you're ulting, he needs to be dead too.
Yes, he certainly does. Now, Evie goes in once more. He has no support from his team, but here's Scout.
Ray's trying to turn things around here. Fires off the Harpoon, not going to find it. Nocturne ulti comes off there. Steel's just trying to buy a little bit more time here for his top laner. Not going to do it as Scout goes unstoppable. 5-0 on the Akali.
Evie just doing what he can, but now Seras is the one in danger.
Seras being collapsed on by multiple members here. Remember, Steel has no ulti available to get into this one. Heimerdinger's in some trouble. However, the flash gets him away for now. Skarner making the pull happen back on the Steel here as well, looking to make it a twofer. Vivid gets himself away. Steel will do the same, but it's still more advantage for EDG.
And you're just seeing what happens when you invest resources into shutting the mage down and getting your assassin ahead. Seras is 0-4-1 right now, and while initially during the laning phase, Scout needed help from his jungler, he's more than capable of just finding solo kills across the board. Now he has his eyes set on Udapon.
Up into the top side, AD carry versus Akali. You guys don't need me to tell you how that one goes. As mid lane, it's going to be another big push continuing for EDG. Tier 2 turret falls, courtesy of Shelly herself. She'll be sent back to the void right thereafter, but Ray is making plays happen on the bottom side of the map as well, taking down the tier 1 turret, bringing EDG up to almost a 5K lead 15 minutes in.
And we were talking about how 8 minutes into the game, it's pretty even, it's pretty close. Well, now everything has been unloaded from the side of EDG. They're just looking for kills all across the board. Seras just slightly overextended in the mid lane, and 4 members show up. He tries to flash barrier. Unfortunately for him, it's not quite enough. Scout has more than enough movement speed to close the gap. And he just does so much damage. 7-0-0.
When in doubt, rely on Scout. The man is popping off this game. Take a look at the stats that he put up during the group stage. 2nd overall in KDA, 1st in CSD at 15, and solo kills. And he has just been finding them time and time again this game.
I reckon his solo kill stats will be padded after this.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit of extra cushioning on those there, but he's got 7 out of 8 of the kills of his team. He's completely popping off. In a phenomenal spot to continue carrying this game all the way to the Nexus. And as you already said, Vedius, it looked close for a while, but as soon as we cursed it, EDG just started marathoning away with this one yet again, as they've got 3 turrets already collected. 1 tier 1 still standing up there in the top lane, but they're working on knocking that one down as we speak, with iBoy and Mako positioned up there. Bottom side, Steel's playing the camp for Evie game yet again. Evie moves forward to clear out the control ward and set the trap for Ray.
And in terms of DFM being able to come back into this game, it's really difficult because you kind of look at the scaling and you see that while with the Tristana Akali, the late game kind of goes in favor of EDG. They have the slightly stronger front line with the Urgot and the Skarner. And with an Akali that's 7-0-0, there's no one on Dead Nation Focus Me that can really handle him in a 1v1, let alone in a team fight situation. So DFM are once again kind of relying on Edward Gaming to make that crucial mistake, to try and find an opportunity to punish them, but it's a 7-0-0 Akali, Captain Flowers, and that's scary, definitely, man. It's hard to come back from that.
It's very scary. You can see Udapon just staying at max range for those Mystic shots. Scout not afraid to move up, capture the Skarner Spire here. Knows that if anybody tries to collapse on him, he can go into the stealth and has teammates nearby to bail him out before it fades away. Next Drake spawning here in about 4 seconds will be the 2nd Ocean for EDG, and honestly, for this team, if you can manage to get yourself multiple Ocean Drakes, the siege situation becomes pretty easy up against a team that would normally want to poke you down with Ezreal and Heimerdinger. Poke's not going to do anything against those Drakes as Vivid goes in there looking to find something. Won't get anything just yet. iBoy keeps himself safe for now. Seros continuing to fire off the rockets, get a little bit of poke with those. Red buff going to be taken very low here. Does start to reset. No more patience. Vivid goes into the ultimate with the Alistar. Scouts into the Shroud. Might be caught out here a little bit. Does get himself back up the wall. Stays alive and gets out of town. They steal the red buff too.
And with the Baron not being alive, Edward Gaming, their only goal is to invade into the enemy jungle and just steal away camps. Shut Steel down, deny as much farm as possible, get those resources onto your carries, and they can do it 4v5. Ray is just free to sit in the side lane, slowly push this wave up, and you can see he's able to take like 70% of this tower by himself because DFM need all 5 members, yet they still lose the red.
And now they're going to lose themselves that Ocean Drake as well. EDG collecting that one, and look at the EDG inventories, Vedius. I actually don't remember the name of that little item, that bracer thing, but I know that it's the Baby Righteous Glory, because that's all everybody ever builds it into.
Yep.
That and a Warmog sometimes. But whenever I see that thing, I'm thinking Righteous Glory. And once you've got 2 of those online for Ray and Clearlove, that means you've got that much more initiation power, that much more ability to sit in the enemy jungle and say, nope, this is our territory now. Stay out, wait for us to get Baron, we'll see you in a couple minutes. And that's the scary part.
I mean, there are a lot of scary things on EDG.
It'd probably be easier to list than not scary.
Yeah, it's probably easier to... Yeah, you're right. So let's list those. Let's list those.
Okay, what's not scary on EDG right now?
Mako's level 9.
Okay, that's not very scary.
That's not very scary.
No.
There are no control wards in the inventory of Ray.
Ray has no teleport right now.
That's great. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So there are some not scary things about EDG.
Everything else is scary, though.
Everything very scary. I'll tell you what is actually scary on DFM. Nocturne. Dust Blade has been completed. He is literally the embodiment of a nightmare. If he can find some kind of one-shot, maybe.
Preferably onto iBoy, who's likely the only person you will one-shot.
I mean, if you could one-shot Scout, like let's say you get a headbutt Pulverize from the Alistar, maybe you land a stun from Seros. You know, if all the stars align, it could happen.
That's fair, but considering he's got
Wait. This is amazing. They've done this in complete darkness. They've gone over the wall, and with the Heimerdinger, they're going to secure this.
If they get this Baron, EDG knows something is up. They're going to find their way into the pit as it drops down below 2,000 HP. Detonation, focus me, loses their jungler! And blue team has stolen Baron Nash. Are the words on your screen reign true? The plan seemed so solid, but Steel evaporates in the blink of an eye.
And Scout does what his name suggests. He smells out the Baron, he dives into the pit, he executes the jungler and makes it clear as day for Clearlove to smite the Baron as EDG make their way to DFM's base.
I like the fact that DFM went for that. This game was getting so far out of control, you had to make some sort of a last-ditch effort, but they will not find success. Instead, they're now down even more severely than they were in game number 1, as EDG will look to make even more happen this game, looking to make the push here into the enemy base now. Vivid's gonna be taken low, tries to get himself away with the ultimate. Bray's on the front line causing havoc with a machine gun, is gonna be taken very low as Clearlove grabs the kill on the steal. Ray gets himself back in time as Scout is whirling those commas around and finding enough damage to take down everyone. It's the ace for EDG. It's the win in 22 minutes, and they will take us to match point.
EDG looked so convincing for so long. DFM tried to get the sneak Baron, but it was not enough. EDG locked down game 2.
This team was fast in game number 1, but that was lightning. In game number 2, the start was a little bit slower, but the mid-game was just pedal to the metal. 22 minutes in, 15,000 gold up, and now you put Detonation Focus Me at the point of do or die.
Poor. It was a rough laning phase for Detonation Focus Me. I thought that they changed up their draft. I thought the goal was, let's not die in the early game. And
they avoided it.
Yeah, they did. But at the same time, they didn't play around the win conditions of EDG, which